How is it going, everybody? Welcome to Spyt Takes. I'm super psyched to be here this evening. This is going to be a great show. We have some amazing shows this week. Of course, Gotham went on its mid-season finale, so we don't have anything to cover there. But since there's so much meat on the bone with Constantine and Flash and the Arrow, I think we're going to be able to fill up the time, no problem. So welcome. Thank you for stopping by. I'm glad you could all find the new location here on YouTube. Here we go. Let's start with this camera first. Obviously, Twitch is about gaming, and even though I'm a game developer in game development, talking about content that's relative to the game that I make and play, it's still not a game show. It's not actually showing live gaming. So I didn't want to sort of, kind of play with fire there. So we're moving it over to YouTube. We'll be doing the live streaming of this show on YouTube. Now, directly after this show, I still have some gameplaying to do. That's right. So we're going to be hopping over to Twitch TV after this. And I think I have some stuff worked out where I'm going to be able to stream a little better off of my PS4 onto my capture card. So maybe we'll decide during the show whether I should play some Dragon Age or I should go ahead and give a try with some games on the PS4. Like some Lego Batman or something like that. We shall see. But right now, we're going to get into the show and start talking about some cool stuff that happened this week. So we always started off with a little bit of Constantine. Constantine hit on Friday. That was last Friday. And this was a really freaking good episode. I think you'll agree with me. In fact, I think that this was by far the best episode of Constantine that they have done to date. And it was brilliant. Everybody involved did a fantastic job. The writers, directors, actors, everything was just top notch. So let's get into actually what happened on this episode of Constantine. So this pretty much had everything you wanted in a creepy kind of horror story. And this was about a possession of a kid. So you have like evil, creepy, possessed kid, and they pretty much hit every note that you need to hit if you're going to do a story of that type. And we'll go through that actually right now. So, where's all my Constantine stuff here? Oh, here we go. Here it is. Okay, so first off, starts out with some crazy murder that happens in a house. There's this just blood everywhere, and there's this dude like levitating in the air, and he's like, "Please, no more!" And he gets crushed down to the ground. You see this little girl kind of like curling up with her knees to her chest, like in the corner, and or against the wall. And so, and then Constantine, we see that Constantine is a ladies' man. He's a player because he is actually sitting there. Oh boy, Weapon Mix, you bringing that up again? He's bringing up the choked on you line. Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, he's got a little one night stand. It's he's sleeping with somebody's girlfriend too, so he's got to sneak out the back. That was kind of interesting, a little risque action by Constantine. So he ends up back at the cabin, and Chaz is kind of getting him to go in and look at what is going on with this investigation. There's this murder. He wants him to go check it out. So Constantine goes over to the house. They drive up in the cab, Chaz's cab, and he goes into the house. And the first thing you see is this horrible scene. And the first thing that Constantine's noticed is some kind of demonic snot on the wall. Okay? There's demonic snot like up on the wall, and he kind of like turns to it and he starts to sniff it, and then he does what couldn't have done a more repulsive thing to somebody like me. It was so disgusting. I mean, literally disgusting. He licks it. He sniffs it. It smells foul, and then he licks it. It's like this nasty stuff on the wall, and he licks it. It's so gross. And he thought it was gross too. He's like, no more. Don't want any. But he seems to have divined some kind of mystic occult knowledge from licking the disgusting, strange slime off the wall. That's what I like to do when I'm investigating an occult murder. I like to just lick every surface that's in there. Not only to claim that this is my investigation site, so that if the feds or the cops or anybody shows up, it's like you lick your ice cream sandwich when you're in, because you don't want to share it with anybody. Oh, I licked it all already. He's like, no, it's my crime scene. I licked it all. You guys, you're not needed here. Don't come. It's mine. I licked it. And they'll be like, oh, God, he licked it. All right, we'll go. And so, anyway, he starts doing this investigation, and the angel shows up, and he does this awesome, dramatic, reveal of his wings. And I thought that was the best shot of the angel's wings so far. And he starts talking to Constantine, and Constantine's trying to tell him, you got to take a side. Very similar to kind of the 2 hours in the movie. There's a rising darkness, and the angel says, hey, your powers might actually not work against this rising darkness. They might be weak now because the darkness is getting stronger. And so Constantine's like, yeah, whatever. And then he does this awesome, badass spell. And in fact, even the angel, you can see there on the right, is super impressed by this spell that he actually manages to cast to figure this out. And what it does is during the scene before where you see the little girl and the police are in here, and this is sort of a smoky reenactment of everything that happened during those moments when the cops came, found the murder, took the girl away to Child Protective Services. And so she shattered a mug because she was still possessed at the time. And so he casts the spell, and the smoke goes on the mug, and it reenacts the shattering of the mug, and then it flows over to this bench where the girl was sitting and talked to a police officer, and it shows her image. So this is her image right there. And the smoke keeps swirling around as time passes. The cop comes in, and her smoky image is there. But when the two of them leave, like they did in the scene that you saw earlier, all of a sudden there's this image of a child left behind. Now, this isn't the image of the child. This is the image of the girl who was possessed, who left. And later they show the image, the smoky image of the child. And so all of a sudden you realize, oh, he's not just seeing what happened. He's seeing what happened on a spiritual level. So the spell was doing more than just if someone were recording the scene with a camera. This was more than that. It was recording the scene with a camera, but you could also see, put like a predator filter down, and there's a ghost right there. She's being possessed. So he realizes that she's being possessed by the spirit of a young child. Now, we go back to the cabin, okay? We start investigating what is going on, and they determine, and by the way, this cabin is flipping amazing. This is my favorite set on the show, and it is possibly one of my favorite sets in any of the new shows that I've seen. Cooler than Star Labs at Flash, cooler than the Arrow Cave under Club Verdant. This place is freaking badass. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's huge. And it's very well propped out, and it's interestingly lit. And so it reminds me kind of like of Warehouse 13, where, you just know there's like a million occult objects in here, and they have like years worth of stories to tell, or MacGuffins to kind of solve mysteries, as he's going out into the real world, dealing with these occult and supernatural phenomenon to actually whip out all these cool objects. We've seen the Helm of Naboo. We've seen a whole bunch of really cool stuff so far. And they whip some out every episode. And just the mood and the sort of scene that's set in this cabin is fantastic. So, I just hope the show continues, because we talked last week that it was on hold right now. I hope it continues just so I can see more of this particular set and all of the awesome props in it. It's really well propped out. And so they're on the map, and they figure out that there's this line of similar murders, and it's actually following a ley line. And so they go to the next area where there's people on the ley line, and they start searching for the kid, which they find with this sort of sconce of smoke, and it blows away from the evil presence, and they go over and check it out. And so this is where it gets really cool, and this is where the whole thing got really super creepy for me. They do everything you could possibly do in this 1 hour episode, including commercials. They create as much tension, as much, Weapon Mix, I agree. The cabin has amazing color, lighting, everything to make it look that kind of noir feel. It's fantastic. So anyway, the first thing that happens is the kid gets possessed, right? He's doing some weird stuff, and then all of a sudden there's a noise downstairs, and the father comes down, who, by the way, throughout this episode is a total douchebag, this dad. And the lights are out. He tries to turn the light on, but the light won't go on, and then all of a sudden you see this like banging of this light bulb. And we know the kid's possessed. We totally know he's possessed. So we know it's the kid, right? And that he walks through the dark, he can't see anything, and then creepily enough, as he looks under this thing, he looks behind him, and all of a sudden all these light bulbs, all the light bulbs from the house are behind him now, and he doesn't even know it. The kid makes the freaking light fixture spark. The father retreats, kind of recoils a little bit, and steps on all the glass of the light bulbs. It was super creepy and super well done, very, very effective. And then the kid's right there, and he's like, "Did you do this?" And the kid's like, "No, I just heard a sound. I just came down here to check out what's going on, Dad. I don't know what's going on." Whatever. Kid had a flashlight. Dad's dumb. Clearly your child is possessed if something like that happens. So that was a great creepy moment. The other thing, of course, if you're going to have a scary, possessed, like, devil child, what must you have in your show? Well, you must have some kind of Rottweiler. And in this case, the Rottweiler was... This poor dog breed gets a horrible rap after Damien and all the other, demonic movies that feature devil dog Rottweilers. So this Rottweiler is just a mean old neighborhood dog, and he's all chained up, and the kid stares it down and uses telekinesis to like choke it into submission. So now he has this like, kind of submissive evil Rottweiler dog. And then of course there's the inevitable standoff with a sharp object with some kind of loved one or family member where you don't know if they're going to get stabbed. Mother leaves the kid alone. They're going to carve some pumpkins because it's Halloween time. And the kid, just kind of carves the pumpkins. He says, "I've carved the pumpkins." The mom's like, "What'd you do?" He's like, "I carved the pumpkins, Mom." He's like, "You're not supposed to play with knives. Look at this kid this age. He's not allowed to touch a knife. Give me a break." Anyway, so she like demands the knife back. He gets all tense. You wonder what he's going to do, if he's going to cut her or anything. And the knife goes back without any kind of terrible exchange. And so that's not too bad. And then, of course, there's some other stuff that happens. There's this big incident where he gets black eyes and kind of smashes all these mirrors and stuff like that. And the worst one, and I didn't really put a picture of it up here because it's too hard to represent, but he has, as Constantine calls it, a row. Constantine's now watching this kid, and he goes to his school. And he sees him getting bullied by this larger kid. And the kid, goes, "Oh, you're a little baby," and he has him on the ground. So the possessed kid starts twirling his finger, and the freaking, merry-go-round thing that's on behind him just starts spinning like really fucking fast. And then he's like, "Doing!" And he sends the kid flying back into the merry-go-round. You can hear the like the whole splat. Everybody's horrified. The kid's like terribly injured. And then here's the weird part. So Constantine comes to, just before all this happens, Constantine basically tells the parents, "You have a possessed child," right? Or actually, no, right after this happens, Constantine knocks on the door, says, "Hi, I'm from the school." And he works his way into the house by saying that he's part of the school. And then he says, basically, look, mate, your kid's possessed, and he's got a demon in him, and we've got to get it out. And then he gets punched out by the father. Just seconds before that, the father's telling him that violence isn't a solution to anything, and then the father goes and punches out like Constantine. So, I mean, this father has no idea how to be a role model to his child, to be honest with you. So it was very strange. But anyway, really bad things are happening around this kid. And Constantine did some cool stuff. Like we talked about, he did the spell, and we did see one other object while we were in the cabin, by the way. I forgot to mention this. This, I'm skipping ahead. This little sword right here. Chaz ends up picking up this sword, which Constantine later refers to as the Sword of Night. And Chaz just starts, what's up, Aiden? Chaz just starts, holding the sword and start confessing like all these truths. This is basically like the lasso of truth, like Wonder Woman's lasso of truth. If you touch it, you're compelled to tell the truth. And so Chaz just starts rattling off all this stuff. You know what else it was like? It kind of reminded me of like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie when they're shooting the empathy gun at each other. That is really awesome. And so it sort of felt like Chaz was sort of burying his soul right there. And Constantine took it away. Of course, he wasn't affected by it when he touched it, which was kind of interesting. And you see the shelf full of stuff back there. And so this cabin just makes you just really just begs to be, explored. Oh my God, I didn't even think about that weapon, Max. It does look like He-Man's sword. It looks like the sword of Grayskull. I wonder if it is a reference to that. I have the power. That's pretty cool. But He-Man doesn't really have to tell the truth all the time. But he does, because he's like a total lawful good, annoying paladin. He's like the paladin that you used to roleplay with when you were playing D&D when you were younger, where the guys, you could never, like if you were a rogue in the group or any kind of like neutral character, you could never even tell a fib, because the paladin would always be like, that is not so. We shall do this impossible task for you. Or here, sir, here's all the treasure that we just found in the dungeon, and donate it to your poor orphans in your church. Or no tactics whatsoever. The paladins, like the players who would be like, I'm a lawful good paladin. I see a force of evil that could probably tear this group to shreds, but I must walk down the hall and just confront it. Oh, bad paladins, bad. Okay, anyway, the Grayskull sword has gotten me off track. So, yes, this is a very cool cabin. Love all the stuff in here. And, of course, toward the end, he's tracking down the kid. He's trying to, get the demon out of him, and he tracks him down into a haunted house. And, of course, what would a standoff with an evil devil child be if it didn't have black eyes and an axe? And so the deal here is the spirit that is possessing, it's not a demon, as initially Constantine thought it was a demon. And earlier he goes to this insane asylum of this dude who is like totally catatonic and had all his fingers chopped off, or at least 3 of them on one hand. Actually, it was these 3 on one hand. And he basically, sees this guy. He's totally catatonic. He thinks that this was the first victim of this demon who possesses him and then goes away. But it was so long ago. It was an old dude. And so, but he's catatonic. He's not talking. And so what Constantine has figured out is that when he tries to do the exorcism and it doesn't work, that this isn't a demon, that this is an evil spirit that has possessed this kid's body. And it actually turns out that it's the little boy who was this grown-up guy with the chopped off hands. He used to get his hands chopped off by an axe by his father, and he went on a murderous rampage, and then his soul was so horrified that it fled its body and it started possessing other children who were quote-unquote abused or would create abusive situations with their parents and then would kill them. So it was like a spirit of vengeance out to kill parents. And the trigger was anytime they would argue or have a disagreement, like this thing would get malevolent and it would come out. And it was pretty cool how it all kind of panned out. And in the end, Constantine exorcises the kid and sends the soul back to its original body. So the guy all of a sudden wakes up in a rage in the mental institution and they have to subdue him. So this was a really great episode. I can't tell you how much I love this episode of Constantine because it really did a great job of hitting all the classic kind of awesome demonic possession, kid, Damien kind of style stuff in a really tight time frame, and it built the mood so well. It was just so well done. So kudos to the show and its creators for nailing it with this episode. If I were going to argue for Constantine to be kept alive and continuing on, I certainly would urge the producer to show this to the suits and say this not my episode of Spyt Takes, although that would be nice. But no, this episode of Constantine. And by the way, in case you didn't notice, that Peter Pan is live on Thursday, which right now actually, but don't go tune in, DVR it, tune in later. One thing I wanted to notice, one little fun thing that happened at the end of the episode. So it was Halloween, and everybody was walking around in their Halloween costumes. And this is a WB show on this. It's on the NBC, but it is a WB show. And I found it very interesting that all the kids in the Halloween costumes all had generic costumes. They were all just generic princes and princesses and frogs, and nothing that had a brand except for this one little kid. You see him in the middle. It was a Robin costume. They had one licensed costume in the whole darn thing, and it was this little kid walking around in a Robin costume. And I kind of caught that, because I work on a DC title, so I noticed it right away. I was like, oh, they have one, and I also kind of understand the restrictions and the things that you can't do with various properties, and just, you have to, if you're going to have a TV show and have these things on there, sometimes you have to pay licensing fees. It's not really public domain necessarily. So it was interesting that that they plugged the Robin thing in there. So I think that was pretty awesome. So Constantine, definitely a winner this week. Check out the episode. If you haven't checked out the series so far, I would definitely urge you to check out the series. And if you want to join a kind of fan movement or something like that to try and keep the show alive. I'm sure there are some petitions and things out there. Fans trying to, Hellblazer fans are trying to keep it alive. Show grew on me. I didn't like it as much as first. I didn't think it's terrible. I didn't think it was like slammed awesome, but later episodes really just been awesome. So I really hope the show survives. I think it'll be an excellent successor to something like Supernatural, which is going away as of this season, I believe. Although I always say that and then they end up bringing it back. All right, so title of tonight's show, right? What was it? Well, it was the greatest crossovers ever, and I have to say that was actually true, and it all started with The Flash. First off, it's a Flash Arrow crossover, 2 episodes, one on The Flash, and then they followed it up the second half on Arrow. Holy crap, it was so good. Holy crap, it was so good. So first of all, I love what they did with the logos. We'll see the other one for Arrow later. But look what they did right here. They took the Flash, they turned the lightning bolt green, and then they put the arrow through the logo. And I thought they did an awesome job kind of incorporating that. In fact, let me go over here really quick. Let's look at Batman, Superman. Look at these logos really quick. So it reminded me a lot, of this kind of stuff, where they're incorporating the two, the two very well. And I just thought that the logo I'm clicking on the freaking XSplit window, but I thought the logo turned out really well for this. I thought that was really cool, especially it's the new Schneider S and all that. I thought that was a really good incorporation, and that reminded me a lot of this kind of take they did on the logo here. This was super cool, and it looked great in motion when they were doing it too. So this episode was interesting. There was a couple of things going on here. The main storyline was really them going after what were they going after, actually? Who was the villain? And now I'm getting the two mixed up. They came to Central City. Oh, they were looking for... oh, my God. Well, now all I can think about is Arrow. Who were they looking for on The Flash? Let's see here. Oh, that's right. It was... what's the character's name? He puts the whammy on you with the red eyes. Starts out, guy with red eyes. He puts the whammy, like makes everybody go into a rage in a bank, and then he robs the bank. Prism? I think his name is Prism. Yeah, Prism. And so it starts out with that, and so we know something's going to happen to Flash or Arrow. Maybe that's obviously why they're going to fight, because we see it in the previews that the two of them are going to fight. So one of them's going to get zapped by Prism is what I'm thinking, and that is indeed what actually happens. But so the other thing that's going on in this is Ollie is really sort of trying to train and help Barry. And how so? So the Arrow, the Hood, is trying to let the Flash know that just because he has metahuman powers doesn't mean he doesn't need to be tactical or strategic, or that he shouldn't use those powers in a more intelligent way instead of just, hey, I can run real fast and dodge bullets and I can freaking, punch stuff really fast. It's so, he's basically like, look, you have the time to case a place before you even go in there. Like, it would only take you the blink of an eye. Yet, do you do it? And he doesn't. So he's trying to teach him throughout the episode, which I found really interesting. So let's go into the episode real quick. First of all, I did sort of groan a little bit. As all of you know from watching the show, I feel like the Arrow series spends a little too much time in Big Belly Burger. And of course, the first thing that happens when they come to Central City is they've brought Big Belly Burger with them. It's not enough that there are Big Belly Burgers like all over the place at Arrow now, because this is my whole point about the Big Belly Burger. It's such a thing on Arrow that when Arrow becomes a crossover on Flash, they literally have Big Belly Burger, and they're still eating it on this show. Oh my God, lighten up on the burgers. I know y'all don't eat that many burgers because you're all in way too good shape. Especially you, Felicity Smoke. I don't believe it. Sitting behind that desk all day and eating all those burgers and sodas. Nope, not fitting into that blue dress from last week. All right, so this was kind of humorous to me. I was like, oh God, but it quickly got back on track for me right away. So the cool thing is, so as I said, the other thing that's happening is he's training Barry, and so he's trying to prove points here that if you don't take the time to look around at your surroundings, that you're going to end up being at a disadvantage. And so Barry, all cocky, thinks that his speed is gonna, I'm gonna shoot you with an arrow, and Barry's like, yeah, right, no you're not. And then so he uses distraction, and whoop, he shoots him, he catches the arrow, and then boom, all of a sudden there's two crossbows set up behind Barry that go off and actually shoot him, like with real arrows too. Like they really hurt. They weren't like, non-lethal arrows there. They hurt, and he even like pulls them out too, causing extra pain and damage. So interesting moment right there. And Barry's sort of starting to realize, oh, okay, maybe I understand what his point was. One of my favorite parts of this show, to be honest with you, was this scene right here. Barry's in the Flash outfit. He gets called in by Harrison when he's in Star Labs, and Detective West is there with him. And these guys talk about not wanting him to be around the Arrow, and Barry's defending his friend, and basically saying, this guy is my friend, he's one of the reasons I'm doing this, and he's a hero. And they're talking about how violent, and he's a murderer, and Detective West is basically saying, the other 11, the 11 bodies that he piled up before he decided not to kill anymore, those don't count. So Detective West is talking about the stuff that I was talking about on Spyt Takes episode 1, where I was like, people were making fun of me about it, like liking the fact that Ollie was this murderer, quite frankly, and now he's turned over a new leaf. I mean, they're recognizing it on the show that was just, whoa, crazy. And we'll talk about this more in the Arrow portion of Spyt Takes tonight. And so here's why this scene was cool. It wasn't so much because Dad number 1 and Dad number 2 were lecturing Barry about who he should associate with. Guys, they fucking mentioned Batman and Gotham. They fucking just flat out, Harrison said, and Batman, does this thing in Gotham City, and the way he operates, and it's just horrible. And I just was like, what? Are you kidding me? No way. That is so awesome. They actually just flat out went there. Bam, Batman. So what I'm wondering right now, if there isn't a little bit of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Avengers, Captain America, Thor kind of thing going on here. A little nod, wink, wink, with the fact that maybe they are literally talking about the Bruce and the Clark or the Gotham that we're going to be seeing coming up in Batman, Superman. Who knows? I don't know. We're going to have to see as the shows progress if they actually start doing what they did with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and actually having things that happen like in Captain America 2 where S.H.I.E.L.D. falls apart and it kind of like permeates through the show. which, by the way, was the best thing that could have happened because that show this season is freaking awesome. And I'll be talking about those before. So that would probably mean, if we're thinking about Gotham, the series that's on Fox, that it is a prequel to... it could still be in this universe, but it's a sort of almost a prequel kind of thing, right? Where it happens sooner than these episodes here. But anyway, this blew my mind, having Harrison actually drop Batman's name in Gotham, and they're comparing, Green Arrow and Starling City, Gotham and Batman in Gotham City, and the Flash in Central City, and how all of these cities are different. Ollie even makes mention of it too, where, hey, you're in freaking, he does in the Arrow thing, you're in Central City where it's always sunny, it's different here in Star City or Starling City. So that was an awesome moment there to have Batman's name get mentioned on The Flash. That was pretty badass. And it'll get me to, we'll talk about this again too at the end of Spyt Takes in terms of what all this crossover meant to me and what I would like to see happen. All right, here was an important moment on the show too. Thawne, Flash gets whammied by Prism, and so he's going into a rage, and he's pissed off, obviously, and jealous about Eddie dating Iris, and so he pulls him out of the car and starts beating the crap out of him and threatening him, and this is the moment where Eddie Thawne was also prior to this actually talking about, and Barry knows this, starting a task force to kind of hunt down the Flash, and so he's already an adversary right there. And this moment where he gets beat up, and of course he turns around, he starts trying to shoot him and fire at him, and he can't believe his eyes that Barry's dodging all this stuff. And it was some pretty cool stuff going on here. And the only thing that stops this is the Arrow. Green Arrow comes in and intervenes with this so that Eddie and Iris can get away. And that leads us to the great big thing they were building up to, which was the Flash versus Arrow fight. Now, in this fight, this was there was a lot that happened, and we're going to cover some of it. And it's kind of hard to see this right here. In fact, maybe I will do something here just to lighten that up a bit so you can see it more. But this was a cool moment. So they're fighting, and I got to say, Ollie gets his ass kicked pretty much during this fight. And one of the things that happens is he's trying to shoot him with arrows. He's not succeeding. Flash starts running around in a circle, and Ollie's like, what the hell do I do? He uses a grappling line to go up to the thing, and Flash is like, where are you going? And he chases him, does the wall running up there, and literally... right, what you see here, pulls the arrow out, and Ollie starts to fall. I gotta be honest with you, it was actually a kind of moment. It was a little terrifying to watch him fall, because you were wondering, like, oh my God, that's just brutal. How's he gonna recover from that? So he was like near death, and of course he shoots another arrow, and thankfully it finds purchase, and he stops before he splats. And then he immediately shoots Barry with a tranquilizer at that point, and it's like horse tranquilizer, and Barry just starts vibrating really fast, and he literally starts expelling it from his system. How he learned how to do that, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It's cool that he did it. He just instinctively was like, and just all the stuff just vibrated right out of him. Completely ineffective. And Ollie was like, this is not good. And so Flash charges him. They start to fight. Ollie can't lay a hand on him, and Flash is just toying with him, you feel like. And finally Ollie lands a lucky punch. And at that point, Flash starts doing this around him, flurry punching all over, super fast punching. It was amazing to watch it in real time and real speed. It was so awesome. And he just, Ollie's going to get his ass kicked for sure. And he gets this one more punch. He falls down. And he tries the whole arrow set up from the back again, shooting at Flash's back, who catches him. And then Ollie does something really cool, which reminded me of our game where we, our bow guys actually take arrows and throw them with their hands, throwing daggers. And he gets Flash right through the leg. This really pisses off the Flash. And they finally get the whammy off of him. Harris and West show up, and they do this light show, which gets the red out of Barry's eyes. And so, really, you got to give this round to the Flash. I just don't think that Oliver would have stood a chance much longer. He would have literally been dead. But thankfully, their friends intervened, and it didn't happen. So they eventually catch Prism. And take care of all that problem, which leads them to sort of wanting to know more about this boomerang, I believe, that's going to cross over into the next show. But here was the coolest part of the show. And there was a lot of cool on this show. Okay, so the whole thing was really Arrow trying to teach Barry that he needed to be more tactical. But something happens at the end. Holy crap, guys. Firestorm. Ronnie Raymond right here. We find him under a bridge. He's kind of tweaking out. He's like shaking, all this kind of stuff. These two like thugs kind of come over, these street punks. Not really thugs, more like punks. Come over and try and rob him. And then you say like a hand goes on fire and this other hand goes on fire. And this is what's cool about this is the actor who plays this is actually Stephen Amell's brother, who was on the Tomorrow People. And so it's pretty cool. The CW really likes this family, apparently. They're casting the brothers back to back. The Tomorrow People led into Arrow, but the show got canceled. And now, interestingly enough, this guy ends up on The Flash. And then his brother, who has the show Arrow, ends up doing a crossover on The Flash on an episode that he's on there. So a little bit of a family affair, kind of a cool behind-the-scenes thing going on there. But this is the Firestorm sort of making his first Firestone. This is a tire, guys. It's a tire. Anyway, no, this is a superhero. And it is pretty freaking... Oh, it's his cousin? I thought it was his brother. Thank you, Arborhawk. Okay, it's his cousin. Anyway, they still like the family. So it was pretty cool, and I was really interested in this because like last week I think it was they mentioned the Fiery Man, and I didn't know who that was, and somebody made the connection that it was probably Firestorm, and I was like, oh, I didn't think that it would probably. They've been focusing so much time on the villains that it didn't necessarily dawn on me that could be a hero, a good guy, and so they confirmed it right here. Although he did something, he looked like he was about ready to get his murder on those two punks who approached him there. That's for sure. So yeah, there you go, guys. Firestorm on The Flash. Really cool stuff. All right, so that's going to move us over to... I really enjoyed that episode this week. It was freaking awesome. Really well acted, really well done. You can really see the difference between the Flash and the Arrow shows when they do this kind of stuff. So you can see that the Flash TV show is a little more lighthearted. It has a little more humor in it. It's got more levity. There is some snarkiness on Arrow, but it doesn't really quite compare to... Arrow's pretty depressing, and its hero is very dark. So this hero is very bright, full of hope, and you can tell the show is too. And I just think it's a wonderful show so far, and I really do enjoy it. It's great popcorn. Great superhero nerd popcorn, that's for sure. All right, so that brings us to the next show that we're going to cover that was part of the crossover. The greatest crossover ever, as per the title of the show. And I would say that it is. It was so awesome. Look what they did with the Arrow. They actually put the yellow lightning bolt behind the Arrow logo to signify that there was a crossover going on here. And I thought that was really appropriate and cool looking. I loved it. I loved how they did that with both logos. They look great together. So let's get into this here. Let me go to the bottom. There's two things going on in this Arrow episode. The main storyline in our timeline, Arrow does a lot of flashback stuff, which is kind of cool sometimes. And so the main timeline thing going on is this sort of search for Captain Boomerang, who made an appearance in a teaser on the next show. Or the last show. And so that's what the main thing going on here in the Arrow episode is. But there's still some other things going on. So like what was going on in the Flash episode where Ollie had something to teach Barry, Barry has something to teach Ollie during this. And I got to tell you, I have never liked Arrow as much as I did this episode when the Flash cast was on it, because it was just like a huge break from the serious weight of everything that goes on Arrow. Cisco and Barry, they added such an amazing energy and dynamic to the whole thing. And so did Frost. I thought she did a good job too. I thought this was a great combination of characters. They each had established themselves pretty well on their own shows. And by the way, for the Flash cast to be as young as it is compared to the Arrow cast, which is like in their third season at this point, I thought they did a great job of holding their own and staying true to who they were and the type of show that they're doing, and inserting themselves very well without losing their sort of sense of, what their show is all about, and integrating themselves onto the Arrow show. They didn't get bowled over. So it was fantastic. Really well done. Now, so we'll get to the main storyline in our present one, but the side storyline, which was sort of getting into what was going on and hinted at in the Flash show, Barry was really kind of horrified at some of the, West and Harrison were really horrified at how violent Ollie was, and West especially didn't want him around. And we see a lot of that in Arrow. Barry is really, really, really kind of turned off and disgusted by how Ollie is operating in his own city. And one of the reasons is because he shoots a guy with an arrow to try and interrogate him. Flash is going to interrogate him. Every time this episode that Ollie was going into a place, Flash would be in there first, and he's got everybody, got everybody tied up already. And the arrow is just he's just getting shown up left and right. And so Barry subdues this one guy in the back, and Ollie just shoots him in the shoulder, and then starts freaking twisting the arrow and saying, "If you ever want to raise your hand again, you're going to tell me what I want to know right now." What is going on here? All right. Well, thanks for that. There we go. Sorry, guys. Hold on one second. There we go. So, anyway, sorry, I had to take care of a troll. So, we see some of the reasoning for this. So, the flashback is really to this Suicide Squad stuff with Waller. And you see her pressing Ollie. And this whole thing develops during the flashbacks where Ollie is asked by Waller to torture somebody and find out where these bombs are. And Ollie is hesitating constantly. And of course, as he's getting ready to threaten the guy to actually torture him with his bow and arrow and shoot him, he ends up... the bomb goes off behind the guy. And so Waller brings him down here into this scene and basically says, "You had an opportunity to make this not happen. It's your fault. This blood is on your hands," which is a bunch of shit, by the way. And so she gives Ollie another chance to learn how to torture. Believes he has the skill and the talent, she says, to torture. And she actually has Ollie try it again. And the whole time you realize when you see him in the present time with Barry is that why he is the way he is. It's not just the island. It's all this stuff that he went through with Amanda Waller as well. And, they talk about that later, and we'll get into that. She's really, really got under his skin and corrupted him quite a bit. But the main storyline, like we said, the past one was Waller. The main one is for Captain Boomerang. This guy's really cool. I like the way this guy plays Digger, and I love these boomerangs. So these boomerangs are super cool. We actually see, in Captain Boomerang show up, and he's got Cisco starts analyzing these boomerangs, and they have ridges in them for C4 things when they first touch them on the Flash, because they have a boomerang on the Flash. So that's why the Arrow people go to the Flash episode into Central City. They're looking for Captain Boomerang, and his his things vibrate. They like Cisco's all excited to touch him and everything. So he's like this technology guru that makes these boomerangs that have all kinds of different functions. Some of them explode, some of them do other things. Who knows? But he's pretty awesome with them, and he looked really good. I thought they did a really good job with the costuming on this guy. So he's like sort of the main thing. Some funny things happened on the show, which added some levity. I loved when basically the Flash and Cisco, everybody's in the know now. It's totally like everybody knows that Barry's the Flash. That has to do with Arrow, and everybody who's with Barry on the Flash knows that Arrow is Ollie Queen, and they've gone into the cave under Verdant here, as you can see. Which is very cool. And Flash starts using the bar ladder thing, and he's like, he's going up like a million times, up and down, up and down, up and down. And he's like, I don't really see why that's so hard. And it was just super freaking funny to watch that happen. So again, bringing levity to the Arrow show was really awesome. There was a lot of humor like that throughout the show, like Barry not really caring and being pretty flippant with his secret identity. And again, this entire time, Barry's getting horrified by what he's sort of seeing here and what's been going on. And I thought I had another picture in here, but it looks like I don't. But one of the cool things that was happening here is we talked about how Ollie was training Barry to kind of be more aware and tactical and strategic, and not just rely on his powers so much, but also rely on some training. And here Barry was really helping Arrow, Ollie, realize that he's a hero, he's a good guy. And Ollie was getting all down on himself and getting all dour, and Barry was like, you're full of crap. And so what the great thing about this was that it really felt like in that moment that Barry is the heart and soul of the Justice League, that he does give them hope, and he gives this whole city hope, and he gives each of them hope, and he's a good person that brings out the good in other people. So it was an awesome representation of the character, and a great two characters to do that with, especially because Ollie was just going this downhill spiral of depression, which is making the show depressing to a great extent. So it was great to great to see that. So let's see here. Where are we going? What was happening? So there's a fight with Captain Boomerang. Right afterwards, Ollie gets his speech about being a hero from Barry, and Digger's plan is to have all these bombs around, and Barry's like, oh god, I gotta find these bombs, and then they realize they can't disable them. So Barry's running around the city, like you see here, looking for these bombs, and they have to all be disabled at once, or they can't be disabled at all. And so Barry keeps running back to and this was the other thing that was so funny. Cisco was probably the best on this show this evening, and really kind of the good thing was that I'll get back to this bomb thing in a second. The good thing about this whole thing was that it wasn't just a one-sided, oh, you have hope. It also, the Arrow cast was really affecting the Flash cast. And Cisco put it really cool. Earlier he was in the truck or a van with Roy and Diggle, and he was basically saying, like, come on, you got to admit all this stuff is really cool, these metahuman powers. And later, when they actually see somebody get hurt, Diggle's fiance or girlfriend almost gets killed. They're like, wow, we really never thought or considered, how dangerous what we're doing is. We always figured because we're dealing with people that have superpowers, it never seemed quite real. And so, it was really interesting to see them doing their thing and really kind of taking it all in on what it's like in Starling City and how dangerous and really what kind of precipice they're standing over with playing with this kind of danger. So really well done on that front too. Another thing that Cisco did that was kind of fun, maybe Barry did this too, I don't remember, but they were asking like, does he have an arrow cave? And it was a total interesting kind of Batman DC thing. Does he have an arrow cave? Does he have an Arrowmobile? Which of course the original Golden Age Green Arrow did have an Arrowmobile, and so they were making kind of fun of that at the same time, which was super cool. I like that that a lot. Okay, so Barry is doing his thing here. He's trying to find all of the bombs, and he sweeps off and he puts Roy and he puts Felicity and he puts everybody in front of a bomb, and they all have to cut it at the same time. Meanwhile, Arrow is doing his thing and has subdued Digger to make all this happen. Now, at the end of this is where they all start to celebrate and do some really cool things with each other, and kind of it's the parting ways of the show. And some very cool things happened here. The first was that Cisco made Ollie a new outfit. It was a really cool looking new Green Arrow outfit, which, as he described it, was really strong Kevlar, so better body armor, but it was lighter and it could hold more gear. So basically, Ollie, thanks to Cisco, leveled up. He's got cooler stuff. But I noticed that Roy didn't get shit, which is fucked up. So I think Roy must feel like a total idiot during this whole show, because he's like, couldn't have felt more like a sidekick than he did in these moments right here. And so Ollie gets a new thing and he's really grateful about it. And then what Ollie does is that he actually gives Flash a suitcase, not a suitcase, but a suit tube, right? An armory, so to speak, if you were to put it in DCUO terms. And so, as he says, for whenever you're in town. So it feels like we can look forward to more of these crossovers in the future, which was really nice. I was happy to see that. And the last thing that happened on the episode was an actual, don't you want to know who would win, fight between Oliver and the Flash. And the funniest line from this was when they were walking in to do this, and Flash was like, look, you're literally standing still to me when we fight. And I thought that was the best line in there. And I'm sorry, I like you, Green Arrow. I like you, Ollie. In the comic books, you're pretty darn awesome, but I just don't think you beat the Flash. Anyway, so we don't know how this would turn out, but I don't know. What do you think? Tell me on hashtag Spyt Takes. Let me know who would win a battle between Green Arrow and Flash. How do you think this turned out? Hashtag Spyt Takes, and let me know. I will read the results if you guys send me enough of them on the next show, and we'll see what you guys thought would happen in this particular episode at the end. Now, this brings me to my thoughts about this entire crossover and why I thought it was the greatest crossover ever. So, first of all, this really made me feel like, you know what? WB needs to do 4 more shows. They need to, or sorry, 2 more shows. How awesome would it be if you could have a few more characters that all these characters in the Justice League would be interchangeable on each other's shows, and you do way more crossovers. So you keep it all on the same network, okay? You keep two more nights. You do CW shows, picking some kind of character. It doesn't have to be what's going on in terms of the movies or anything like that. And then you have minor characters and people that are in the movies actually start making appearances on these shows, and you start bridging the gap between TV and film, as Marvel has done with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Avengers. But regardless of that, I think that even just doing it show to show to show, that's what Marvel doesn't have right now, which the DC does, which is 2 shows on TV that actually you can do the crossovers on. Now, Agent Carter is coming to television, for the Marvel, but it's a different timeline, so it'd almost be like Gotham, on Fox as to what these things are. But I think they should. I think they should have a couple of more shows where they could do crossovers like this and just reinforce this Justice League feel. I think it would be absolutely fantastic. I don't know who these characters would be, but let's ask you guys. Tell me again at hashtag Spyt Takes. What do you think would be a really cool 2 new shows on the WB where they could do crossovers and really blend characters like they did in this episode? Because I think this was a success for both shows and make me like both shows even more. And that said a lot for Arrow, because Arrow is I'm really into the Flash, and I like Arrow. I liked it. It's on TV. I liked it halfway through the first season. I missed the second season. I got to go back and check it out. Everybody says it's awesome, but I would like to see some other shows come on here as well. So tell me, Hashtag Spyt Takes. What do you think? Two other shows that would complement these characters really well and could stand up on their own on other nights. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Wednesday and Thursday time slots. What are they, people? Or sorry, Monday and Thursday time slots, because we already have... Actually, we have Gotham, so they wouldn't want to compete with that. We can't do Friday, so it's going to have to be Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday? Those are the open days that we have. But it doesn't matter what days they are. It doesn't matter. Just tell me what shows you think they could be. What characters do you think they should be? Hashtag Spyt Takes. Tell me on Twitter. I want to know. So this was an amazing week for the CW with these two shows. I thought Constantine hit it out of the park with its episode. And I'm just looking forward to more of these continuing when they come back in January. And that's it for Spyt Takes tonight. You guys were awesome for tuning in on my first show on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Stay tuned. I will be doing gameplay now on Twitch TV, so you can head over to www.twitch.tv/Spytle, and we'll be doing some live gameplay. I'm not sure what I'm going to be playing yet. I'm going to take about a 5-minute, 10-minute break, get some water, check on the dogs and the wife, and decide what it is I'm going to play. I did work out some things with the PS4, so I might be testing that a little bit with XSplit. I should get a better experience with it, but if not, I'll jump back over to Dragon Age for sure, and we'll do something on the PC. All right, so thank you again. This was episode 4, Spyt Takes, the greatest crossover ever. I hope you agree with me, and it was. And if you hadn't seen them yet, well, I've spoiled it all for you, so you better go out and see it now, because I know you're dying with anticipation to see all those awesome, juicy nerd moments yourself. They were awesome. They were juicy. All right, till next time, take care. We'll see you next week for episode 5.